War Report coming live every Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. And the voice of NEW, Vince Perry. Getting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out SmackDowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space. Now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
Wrestling has more than one royal family.
Well, at least now he can't annoy me on 2 different channels.
Why ain't no Bruce Kit?
Yo, I saw. Welcome to the War Report. I gotta bring something up stupid. Welcome to the War Report, brought to you by Tag Me a Date. Talking all things wrestling. We're talking all things ice and Amica cream, so we can cover up bruises with our bruise kit. I actually saw regarding Cody here, as you can hear. Regarding him, I was on a Facebook group. I hate this Facebook group, but I can't leave. It's one of those things where it's like a car accident. I can't stop watching. There were multiple, you know how like on a Facebook group, you can either comment on a post or start your own or whatever. Multiple started their own threads with posts with the big, you know, the big text, not the little letters, and the big text. Oh, it's a bruise. Oh, that looks so fake. Oh, come on. What?
Listen, I saw.
How are they this dumb? How are people this dumb?
I will say this. Well, you know what though? Because on one hand, you sit there and you say, "How was he ever cleared? If it is legit,
just put it up.
You know,
put the comment up. I think Tara got to you that one early.
Yep.
Oh, I wasn't even looking. I would drop the ball. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that, and I have seen stills of before and after, like when he takes the jacket off and at the end of the match. If it was makeup, it would have rubbed off on Rollins. It would have faded
worse.
And it did look worse. And then to see it again on Raw, it looked even worse. So, I mean, listen, if you didn't respect Cody Rhodes, how do you not now? I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, but I agree with Tara's all caps comment. Like, so here's the deal. I also found out that between April and June, Cody Rhodes has wrestled more times than he did in the last 13 months that he wrestled with AEW. So, the WWE grind is real. 300 nights a year, constantly traveling, wrestling every night is real. And this is the wear and tear we see on a lot of WWE guys that you don't necessarily see on AEW guys. And not that they don't get injured in AEW, more on that later. But they're definitely not working the same schedule of matches, coupled with the workouts that you have to do in between to keep up your shape. And this is, this is an older Cody Rhodes. Not that he's an old man, but older than he was when he was first working the WWE schedule. He's got a lot more miles on his body. And now he's trying to work a full-time schedule that he hasn't worked in 3 years. So I feel like, or 7 years, really, because he was working the indies, but he wasn't. No. But, I just feel like it's one of those things where he kind of, first of all, he's all gassed up on that shit that makes your head grow. And then he's in the gym, and there was a picture of Triple H that had it, and they compared it very similar. Kevin Nash has had that injury. I've heard him talk about it in some interviews. Very similar description. It was very torn, but it's also like, if you're gassed up and you're overworking yourself in the gym, this is the exact kind of injury you're going to get. So, like, I understand Cody wants to go one more round and have this great run and then maybe retire or do whatever he's going to do. But, like, there's a point where you're pushing your body past where maybe you should be.
Well, listen,
however old.
and that may be the case, but at the end of the day, he put on a hell of a fucking performance in the state that he was in. I mean, the match was fantastic, and then when you think Rollins is turning, then he attacks him even further. I thought it was interesting that Cody hinted about partaking in Money in the Bank when it sounds like there's no way he's going to be back in time. His surgery, I think, is scheduled for Wednesday.
Correct.
But I give him a lot of credit. But listen, before we dissect Hell in the Cell and go through that whole thing, which, by the way, I don't know if Ryan ever got all the fucking picks that we all threw out in the chat, but we never had to pick them, so I don't know how that's counting.
Amanda was the winner with a perfect card.
Who was perfect?
Amanda.
No shit.
Yep, Amanda won her first pick'em.
Wow.
The
All
first
right.
one in like
Go
5
Amanda.
years.
Seriously.
The first one ever since we started.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I did pretty shitty, but
I think Eric and I both got, or Eddie and I, we got 5 out of 7.
5 out of 7, yeah.
Yeah.
I was working at it. I was doing an open mic.
I probably did like a 4 out of 7 or something. No, there was no pick 'em. Ryan never fucking did the thing.
Right.
Ryan was asleep.
Yeah. Well, of course. Yeah. He deserves it. But
this is why he's only an intern and we don't pay him.
Exactly. I mean, wait, you guys are getting paid? Honestly, I don't think I submitted. I can honestly, I'm not one of those people who would just be like, oh yeah, I corrected my own quiz and I got 100. Like, no, I would have. I'll tell you from the beginning. Like last week, I was saying there's no way that Cody goes 3-0 against Seth, and then when he was injured,
I told
I'm like,
you.
but then I go, oh, he's injured. This is perfect. You do business the right way, like your dad and your older brother taught you. When you're injured, you put the other guy over on your way out so that they get a win and you can go off and get surgery. And then they're just like, nope.
That's exactly what I did. I took Seth for the Hell in the Cell.
I would have bet money on that.
So listen,
yeah.
Before we go further and dissect Hell in the Cell, there's something that was huge that took place prior to that. That we need to have a conversation about, even though we have all talked about it in the chat, but we have not talked about it on the show. And I mean, we all know I have to be referring to MJF.
Yep.
Because
pipe bomb.
That pipe bomb, you never think you're ever going to get something that's going to be even close to and or possibly better than CM Punk's pipe bomb. And then you have MJF. And what made that promo so fucking good is every single person sat there and said, holy shit, is this a shoot or is it a work? Because he calls Tony Khan a fucking mark on his TV show, live on TV. And then, of course, they're doing all the right things, pulling him out of the intro, taking him off the roster page, unfollowing him on Twitter.
No merch.
No merchandise, right? So they're really playing it up. Either Tony Khan is a true evil fucking genius, or there's a very good chance that MJF is on his way to WWE. And I have to say, if and when that ever does happen, as a huge MJF fan, I've come to the decision that I do not want to see him in the WWE. I need MJF to stay where he is because he will be a watered down PG version of himself in WWE.
100%.
He will never be able to cut a fucking promo like that in WWE. It's just, he won't be as great as he is because he's such a dick, but he gets to really show you what a dick he is on live television, and he won't be able to do that in WWE.
But he's he's a young guy. He wants to chase that money, which I can't fault him for, and he wants to follow his friend Cody Rhodes. If he wants to fuck around and find out, he can fuck around and find out, and then come back 3 years later, like lesser for the experience. Like it happens all the time. Like how many people, like Kenta, oh, he's going to be a big deal in WWE. Nope. Oh, Shinsuke Nakamura is going to be a fucking, you know what I mean? Like you can point out all these guys that they bring in from the outside that, and I know they're the rare exceptions like AJ Styles, but like it just feels like they bring in, they'll throw money at people and they'll treat them good for a little while, and then we all see what happens down the line when it's like, they don't
It'll
want to
never
play.
work.
It doesn't really work. Hey, Eddie.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How
I
you doing?
like that. I like that tank top, buddy.
Eddie,
Yo, what's going on, bro?
what's your take on Maxwell Jacob Friedman?
Oh, the promo heard around the world. The pipe bomb 2.0. I mean, it was. it's
Tony,
crazy. I
you're
mean,
nothing but a fucking mark.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, give me 1 second.
Oh man.
No, sorry. My son just said something to me. No, I mean, no, it was that was insane, bro. I mean, it's for me. I mean, I can't. Obviously, you can tell the frustration is there. And some people say it's a work. I mean, if it is, it's one of the greatest works in history. I don't think it is. I think the dude is legit.
Yeah.
Has a legit gripe. Like
Oh,
you
I
said,
think
like
it
I
all-
think
it-
I
it
caught.
started
I don't know.
as
Vince was
something
saying, about him bringing, with the guys bringing, the people they're bringing in, like WWE guys, and getting paid a lot more than
Should
him.
I be an ex-WWE guy, Tony?
Yeah,
like,
no,
what the
100%.
fuck,
No,
man?
yeah.
But you know what, though? But
What?
here's what I think should happen. So they haven't addressed him. They haven't done anything but pull all his shit down and make it seem like, this is real deal Holyfield, right?
Yep.
So now you have the unfortunate instant that CM Punk has now injured himself. And instead of relinquishing the title, we're going to have this interim champion, which I think is fucking horrible.
Yeah.
However, a masked man should be in this battle royal who winds up winning. And it's MJF, who is now your interim champion. And when Punk comes back, you revive that, but now it's for the title.
No, yeah.
That's what I think should happen if it's a work. But I don't know, man.
No.
This is
I mean,
a
if
tough
it's
one to
not-
call.
Yeah, if it's not a work, I mean, then for me personally,
Well,
you take your pound for pound, the greatest, pro wrestler you have on your roster, you take a Bryan Danielson, you make that guy champ. Because let's face it, the big money match, at least in my opinion, is going to. I mean,
But
is
what's
Bryan
this
Danielson
interim
versus Punk.
shit? What's this interim shit? So as soon as Punk comes back, you're just supposed to hand him back the belt?
No, they're
Like-
gonna have a unification.
No, I think it's a interim, right? That's what I mean. Interim champion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they've done it with Sammy, right? They've done it before. They're known from that. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, and I know
but
UFC
to me, like I said, I mean,
Right.
there's a big show. Vince, correct me if I'm wrong. There is a big show coming in Queens, right? In New York soon?
Yeah, the at Arthur Ashe Stadium they're gonna do Grand Slam again, and they've
Yeah.
got. So basically, here's the setup. There's a battle royale. The
Yep.
winner of the battle royale faces John Moxley in the main event on Dynamite.
Which is how's that? But okay.
Right? Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, I guess because they the justification is that John Moxley in this year 2022 is
Yep.
7-0. Anthony Ogogo was also 7-0, but based on strength of schedule, this is a real NCAA. I love that this is so much like the NCAA football rankings because it's
Okay.
so like you can just cherry pick these numbers and make anybody the number one contender. So they're just like, oh, he's 7-0, strength of schedule, he's the number one contender. So Battle Royale winner faces Moxley. Winner of that match goes on to face Tanahashi for the AEW Interim Championship at Forbidden Door. Whoever wins, or actually, technically, Tanahashi's going to face Goto at Dominion or something first, but it's going to be Tanahashi. It's probably going to be Moxley if it's not MJF. Winner at Forbidden Door is the new AEW Interim Champion. When Punk comes back, whether that's for All Out or Grand Slam or one of, because there's the next pay-per-view that's coming, because this last one was what, Double or Nothing? The next one that's coming up is All Out. And there's also Grand Slam in there somewhere. So depending on how long the injury is,
Yeah.
whoever the interim champion is will face Punk. to
And it's
unify the
Punk's
titles
foot,
some-
correct? Just his foot?
Yeah, it sounds like a broken. So correct me if I'm wrong, Cap, but this is what I've heard from the times that I've gone and got X-rays on my ankle for a potential broken ankle. Is that the tendons on the top of the foot, and then there are the bones that are in the foot.
Yep.
When something slips, if it basically think of them like little like Lego bricks on these tendons, and like you pull them out, and like they'll pop out,
Right.
and like yeah.
So the tendon is split and the bone is split. So he needs to have the tendons refused in his foot plus the bone realigned. So we're probably talking plates being put in or something for a while. You're ballparking probably 4 to 6 easy if he can recover.
Really?
If he can if he's like a John Cena that he
Yeah.
can do a really quick recovery, you're looking at 4 to 6. If
Punk is in his 40s though, isn't he?
exactly. So we could be looking at the same time that we're looking at for Cody, that this could be 5, 6, 7, 8 months.
Yeah, because I mean the way Punk was talking was that he was going to be coming back. It sounded soon. Like to me, you wouldn't make an interim championship if the guy, if you didn't think the guy was at least going to come back to defend the title for one match.
Right.
So like,
I mean, for what I read, it does look like he's going to need the plate. If he needs the plate, that's not quick.
That's
If
right.
they
Yeah.
if they
Absolutely.
redo it and say that it doesn't need a plate,
Yeah.
then maybe 2 months.
Okay, so best case
But
scenario
if
is
it's
2
the
months.
tendon and the bone, I've never heard of that not being done without at least one plate
Yep.
being put in.
Yeah, so we could be looking at 6 months puts us at November, which puts us at Full Gear.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a long time to have an interim world champion. I mean, the UFC does it, but the UFC has the events are so far spread out that that kind of makes more sense. And boxing
Yeah.
does
I
it.
mean,
and
they
boxing
did it
matches
for
are
quite
way
a
more spread
while.
out.
Like, I mean, we're going back to WrestleMania 10, but they did that with the Razor Ramon Shawn Michaels thing too.
The Intercontinental Championship.
And if done right, like you said, you put the belt on Danielson. You have Danielson have that amazing run for 6 months. You have CM Punk come back and face a heel Danielson, and break away from whatever he's doing right now with Mox. And then just go ahead and have that.
Yeah.
Or you strap it on MJF and you have what was supposed to happen, because I'm telling you, this was setting up for an MJF
it was
CM
all
Punk.
setting up for
Yeah. Oh no, of
Championship.
course. I'm totally game for MJF, but again, my pick would be Danielson. I mean, if
The only
MJF
reason
can't.
I'm going more towards the MJF thing is because of the Arthur Ashe Stadium.
Yeah.
Oh, being in New York. Well, that's why in my heart of hearts, I wish with this interim period, they would fuck around a little bit and give someone like Eddie Kingston the title. If Eddie Kingston backfisted somebody in Arthur Ashe Stadium, wins the world title at Grand Slam, oh my God.
Yep.
Oh, but
That would care. If there was a roof, it would be torn off. Yeah.
but I understand why you would want to, especially like Moxley being a choice to face Tanahashi. That's a big, that's a headline match.
Right.
Anything with Bryan Danielson in it is going to be a headline match. MJF is kind of right. Obviously, here's the thing. He's saying a lot of things that he believes to be true in his personal life, and then is also kind of true, within the storylines. The one thing that I kind of, he brings up this ex-WWE thing. The whole idea is that for the last 20 years, there was no such thing. You were only a WWE guy, or you were fucking unemployed, or maybe you could go to TNA. There was no such thing as another big market promotion when WCW dropped out. So AEW was supposed to be a haven for not just the indie people who would make it and wanted an alternative, but for an alternative for how business is done in WWE. So you don't work 30 matches in 45 days and tear your pec during the biggest run of your career. Like, you only need to wrestle a handful of matches you don't need to burn yourself out. You get like fucking health insurance with AEW. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't just an alternative for indie guys. It was supposed to be an alternative for the guys that are working at WWE and aren't happy. So, and he also said this thing about nobody can lace his boots, and I think is silly when you've wrestled literally 10 matches in the last year and like, you're fine, you're good. He's not a bad wrestler. He's fine. But like, to say that these guys can't lace your boots and you're talking about guys like Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, I mean, just give me a break here, Max. Like, you're good, but you're not. The talking is what gets people in the arena for MJF, not necessarily the rest. But if that's MJF's last promo, what a way to go out. If it's not, and he surprises us this Wednesday, or he surprises us down the line challenging for that title, or enters in a battle royale or a ladder match or something to win the number one contendership and kind of sneaks it in there. Could be very interesting, but a lot of question marks.
The
We
problem
literally don't
I
know anything.
have the problem I have with the whole interim champion thing is that you're a paper champion. You're not the real champion, and it doesn't matter. It's meaningless.
Yeah, and I mean
That's how I feel, at least.
But I also understand what their position of like he just won the title,
it's like
and
you
he
said,
got
though.
injured like a couple days later.
But Vince, it's like you said. If doing an interim champion, at least in wrestling, generally it's for a short period of time.
Right.
But if Punk is going to be out for a long time, then doing the interim thing is kind of dumb then.
Right. So, and that's
Like, just
the
straight up
interesting thing
vacate
is
the
we really
title.
don't know. Because you're right. I think you're right. I'm on, if the interim, if your champ is going to be gone for 6 months, then you should vacate the title. No interim thing. If he's going to be back in a month or two, sure. So I guess the real thing is we kind of won't know until we know. Like, it's one of those things where either Punk is going to come out with something or AEW is going to come out with something that will tip their hand and let us know where they're going with this. Because, like, I think in my mind, these guys are responsible enough to know that if it's going to have to be a 6-month recovery time, they're going to have to make another statement that's saying CM Punk is relinquishing the championship. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like that has to be the next conclusion.
And then as far as the Battle Royal goes, you can't rule out Wardlow.
Nope, that's the other thing. Wardlow's on a hot streak right now. That's the wonderful thing about this is we could go through the list and we can go, well, Danielson should be champion. Moxley
It's like
should
the
be champion.
92 Rumble where any one of like
Cole.
6 to 8 guys could have won the title.
Listen, off the top of my head, I can think Danielson, Moxley, Adam Cole, fucking Miro, Eddie Kingston, Wardlow, any of those guys could win. In my mind, win the world championship and be considered a legit champion in AEW. So there's a lot of, and there are more, there's other people, I'm sure, if I thought about it hard enough, that, Penta would be a great world champion.
I'd love it.
There's
they could throw it on Darby Allin for all you know. Or Sting,
oh my God.
Whatever, I don't care.
Sting, Mr. Stink.
And look at Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn is fucking better than all the associates, his sons and the Acclaimed.
I love that group.
Scissoring, let's scissor. What the fuck?
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. And the guy, poor Anthony Bowens, has this knee thing, but they've got Billy Gunn wheeling him out in a wheelchair. Scissor me, daddy ass. Oh, what?
It's fucking ridiculous.
How could you? It is patently ridiculous. But I appreciate it's those Gun Club guys over the last couple of years. I know they're not world beaters or anything, but over the last couple of years have really improved, I think.
Do nothing.
Showed more character and whatever. I get. Listen, they're not main character guys, for sure. But you need jobbers in every division, and the jobbers should have a personality.
I had this idea where, since when WWE had all these releases, and Road Dogg was one of them, and then there was all these outlaw speculation and stuff like that. I had this idea where Billy's sons turn on him, and then Road Dogg comes in and saves him, and then do something like that.
You know what? That I wouldn't be opposed to that. They throw that on Dark. They throw it on the pay-per-view pre-shows. Yeah, sure. Why not?
We should also talk about Athena. I love that she debuted, and me, I'm a big fan of hers. And
like, you need an excuse to talk about Athena.
But there's, listen, they're pushing her right
and
into
I'm glad
title
she
contention.
kept the Eclipse, which is I don't know what they're going to call it, but that is a fucking badass finisher.
Yeah, and I see again these. I hate these. Every wrestling group I'm in is full of weirdos, and they all sound like the. Oh my, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan had to have hip surgery because he did a leg drop. Athena should really think she should change her finisher because in a couple of years she's not going to be able to walk and she's going to need hip surgery. And
Hulk Hogan
you know
couldn't
who's
walk
gonna
to
need
the
hip
ring
surgery?
to begin with.
Yeah. Do you know who needs hip surgery? Fat, obese fucking people who sit in their couches and eat chips and watch pro wrestling. Those are the people who need hip surgery because you've got hip dysplasia because you're so fucking fat that your fat pushed your hip out of the way. So shut up. I think she knows what she's doing. She's a professional wrestler. You're not. Oh, then she's gonna.
Everybody's a critic.
Oh, but if Hulk Hogan used the axe bomber instead of leg drop, he would still be wrestling, and he's 78 years old. Fuck off. Nobody cares. It's a fun finisher.
Yeah, it's legit. It's awesome, and she
It
looks
really-
pretty good. And
It's the buff blockbuster, right?
they it's almost like
one
a
of my favorite
stunner
moves.
kind of thing.
Yeah. Did Buff might have done the neck breaker the other way, but anyway, I listen. I like top rope finishers, especially something like that. And in the women's division, it's a flashy like Kyrie's insane elbow is very flashy. Like I like it's memorable. You can
Yeah,
put
and-
that in a commercial or a hype video or whatever, and you just it's like watch
And I'm glad
AEW
that-
Dynamite, and you see the
and I'm
hair
glad-
going and the flip. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad that they didn't get a brand new name. They went back to her indies name, which is Athena,
right. Well, I think,
and
is-
then they
is
go
that-
back to the whole like the fallen goddess, the whole thing about Greek mythology and all that. I love that.
I like that too because they didn't when she was Ember Moon, they didn't really lean into the fact that they wanted her to be like a fucking werewolf. It was very vaguely like, you know,
Yeah, like they had.
It was
the
almost
eyes
like
and a
Twilight.
couple of things.
yeah, it wasn't even Twilight. At least they were werewolves. It was more like, well, and she's very into the werewolf lifestyle. If you remember the way JR would talk about the
Gangrel.
brood.
So it was Dark Shadows.
Yes, it was Dark Shadows. Friggin' Barnabas Collins.
Yeah.
I think you're
what
the
you
only
do in the
person that knows
shadows.
Barnabas Collins references with me.
Yeah, that goes. I mean, well, hey, Johnny Depp played Barnabas Collins in Dark
I
Shadows.
know, but I was watching Dark Shadows way before Johnny Depp did the movie.
old Dark Shadow, yeah. Oh, for sure. The old Dark Shadows was.
That used to
there's-
come on before Beauty and the Beast with Ron Perlman, so that was my Saturday night.
Vincent the Beast. Yes.
Mhm.
One of my favorite shows from back then. But anyway, there's a Pluto TV channel if you want to
Yes.
watch Dark Shadows. I've been tuning into that some every so often.
And CBS Access, you can get Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, nice.
And I blew Cat's mind yesterday when I told her that Crush Groove was on.
Yes. Oh my God.
Wow. All right. So I'm dumb. I thought Athena was much like some of the other wrestlers was like her real first name, and it's actually not. I'm shocked. Adrienne.
Her name is Adrienne.
Yeah. ADRIENNE.
Adrienne.
Yeah.
And she was under in Booker's school, I believe, right?
Yo, Adrienne.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
I think she was one of Booker T's top students or something.
Yeah.
She does not look
sure.
like an Adrienne.
No, I think that's why she goes by Athena.
I would too.
I guess we should talk about the pay-per-view now since it's been up on the lower third scroll here for a while.
Moving right along.
Right. Well, Steve, you're still here with us?
I am.
All right. I'm just making sure. I feel like you're chomping at the bit to talk about this pay-per-view. So open it up here. What are your
I actually thought it was a pretty solid fucking pay-per-view. I mean, even some of the matches that I didn't give a fuck about actually wound up being decent matches. I'm not going as far as talking about Omos's match. That is what it is. But for the most part, the matches were solid. Again, big ups to Cody Rhodes. That was insane. Great match. The opening bout, the women triple threat match was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of figured at the end, I kind of had a feeling that, she wasn't losing the belt, but a great match. A lot of false finishes, a lot of back and forth. It was well done. I think the booking of the pay-per-view was great.
Loved Becky Lynch's outfit. Sorry.
I don't know. I think she was fucking ridiculous.
I could not care. Like, Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, along with The Miz and Maurice, could be on a TV show called Couples. I could care less about right now. I just don't. They bring me no emotion.
What not to wear.
And I'm not saying positive or negative emotion. I'm saying no emotion. I'm just like, this is Becky, but it's not. It's Becky Lynch, but it's like
it's not
Dune.
The man.
It's like in Dune when somebody dies and they just bring him back as like a robot or whatever it is. It's like this isn't the Becky Lynch. Like, these are not the droids we're looking for. This is not. You're in pain just watching Cody Rhodes. That's just watching a Cody Rhodes match.
I will say this though. There was a thing on ESPN yesterday that said that the pain level that Cody Rhodes must have been going through was like being in labor for 24 to 48 hours.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was an inadvisable thing. You know, Daniel Bryan went to how many doctors that said he was fine, and the WWE doctor wouldn't release him to wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy comes out with an obvious injury and like so much fluid. He was retaining so much fluid. He was built like Dustin or Dusty. He wasn't built like Cody. Like, he was all like, he had this fluid around.
Yeah, the bionic elbow, bro.
Yeah, not even the bruised pec. The other pec and the rest of his chest cavity was like fluid. Like, I understand he wanted to go out there and put on the "I got whipped by MJF" face. Oh, look at how much pain I'm in. Struggle through it. I get it. Dramatic. I just think of, Paul Orndorff didn't get that surgery and his arm was atrophied. And I'm like, there's a point where there's a difference between wrestling hurt and wrestling injured. You know what I mean? Like, and there's kind of a line between being able to wrestle hurt and being able to wrestle with an injury. And it's like, as much as the reception has been great for this, and he got a good reception on Raw and all that, like, I don't know, dude, if you just had a kid, like, I'm just trying to think of all this shit that's like, I'm getting too old for this shit. I would have been like, I don't know, good for him for going out there and doing it. I just think that,
he was nuts.
Yeah, it's because even Mick Foley, when Mick Foley posts something on Facebook about putting in a gutsy performance, you're like, maybe Cody went a little too far this time. If even Mick Foley's saying it was gutsy, like,
well, think of it this way. So the bruise is where the injury started. The fluid and everything is because the muscle is still pushing across his chest. So the pain's not just radiating in his arm and where exactly the bruise is. His whole freaking chest felt like 10 centimeters dilated for
Well, it's
a long
also
time.
If it did actually rip off the bone, there's a point where like I had like you don't feel like it's gone, like it's off that, like that part you don't even feel anymore.
You don't even feel that part. But picture it this way: if it flabs up against you or it bumps up against something internally, so like when he was taking the belts, like the whips from the Dusty Rhodes belt that Cody was wearing, or the rope from the Texas rope, that shit hurts.
It really seemed like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like Cody tries to do too much. You know what I mean?
Think?
Like, goes out there, lights himself on fire, fucks his back up. Like, he does a little too much. Like,
once
just a little
father.
Dude, his father probably even thinking, "What the fuck are you thinking?"
You know what? I think there's the one thing that I think he took from Dusty Rhodes, and it's this: if Cody was losing that match, he wasn't working. I already fucking know. I would put money on that. If Cody was losing that match, he would go, "Oh no, tore my pec, can't do it." They're like, "Hey, Cody, we need you to go out there. We're gonna put you over, even though you're injured." And he's like, "I'm gonna do. This is gonna be my bloody sock game from the Red Sox and all this shit." You know what I mean? Like,
I'm curious as to what Goldust probably said to him for doing all that.
It's because this is like this. Honestly, not to shit like he did something fantastically inadvisable and brave or whatever. Brave, stupid. There's a line here. Like, this is the old school mentality that we're trying to get away from. Overworking yourself, working 30 matches in 45 days and then getting injured and then still going out and working. This is like, we're trying that's an old wrestling thing from the 70s and 80s that caused guys to get addicted to painkillers and fucking die early. Like, this is Cody's overworking himself because he saw his dad do it.
Right.
And he saw everybody else do it. We're past that as a culture, as a people, we're past that. It's so unnecessary to put that much strain on your body as a performer.
But correct me if I'm wrong, aside from when it happened to Hunter in the middle of the match in Saudi Arabia, I don't think we've ever had anybody with that type of injury continue or be in a match. I don't recall.
Triple H finished the match where he tore his quad the first time.
Well, the quad, yeah, the torn quad, but he stayed out of the match most of the time after the sharpshooter. He didn't get back in the ring.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean the walls of Jericho.
He still took a sharpshooter, though.
He did take a sharpshooter. That was crazy. But like, this is the difference. It was an injury during the middle of a match.
Right. But not walking into a match.
This to me, Cody
is walking in with it and for a whole match and a Hell in a Cell at that.
Right. Like Steve Austin broke his neck in a match. He finished it. I get that. Right. But willingly having the injury and then walking into the ring.
The only thing I think it was Macho Man. Remember in WCW? Dave Meltzer report, this is a rag sheet, brother. And they lit the Wrestling Observer on fire. And then Dave Meltzer got 50,000 more subscriptions that week. Because they gave him free promotion, but like they burnt it, and then Macho went up and did an elbow drop and fucked his elbow up even more to like, oh, we got him, and then he worked this whole. It was the cage. It was the cage.
Yeah, but it was it was like a dislocated elbow or something. If I remember, it wasn't like a torn pectoral. Like,
yeah, I forget if he had. I don't think it was a torn pec. You're right. I think it was something.
It was in his elbow. He had like hyperextended or whatever, like kind of like what happened with oh my God, what the heck with Luchasaurus. It wasn't but I mean, like, we didn't start the match willingly going down into the ring with something.
Right. Just going back to the beginning of the show, the first comment. How did he get cleared for this? Like how
he wasn't.
But how could you even on like an insurance liability level let this happen? And then what if he goes out there? I know, but you'd think after like Owen and everything, like I'm just saying, like,
Cody publicly said it was his decision, so
yeah,
he must have signed something that said,
I guess,
you permanently fucking hurt yourself. We're not responsible.
Yeah, and
listen, they made
Owen,
they made Mick Foley sign something when he took the fucking dive off the top of the cell.
Yeah, good thing when the cell broke the second time.
Oh yeah, Vince wasn't going to be responsible for that shit.
Yeah.
Because
I'm sure they probably did make it, but
and that fall through wasn't supposed to happen either.
Exactly. Best line Jerry Lawler ever did. That's it. He's dead.
Yeah. I think I don't even think that was a line. I think it was just how he felt.
But,
exactly. So, but I mean, just like
Steve, you brought this up earlier about Rollins again. What the fuck? We thought we were done finally, and then Rollins is the one that takes him out. Why? Why in the fuck are we continuing this?
And it's funny too because after the embrace, the handshake, whatever, and then Seth leaves, right? And then Cody's going up the ramp, and then the camera angle, and they stayed there for a couple seconds. I said, "Oh, here we go," and sure as shit, there comes Seth out with the sledgehammer. I don't understand why. So my thinking was at the time of the handshake, I said, all right, this is where you turn Seth back to a babyface because now you need a top babyface because now Cody's going to be out for a while. So we got to shift gears. Then 30 seconds later, he went back to being the Seth Rollins that we hate and got much more heat after it, which, listen, it worked because he's like the most hated fucking guy in the company right now because of it. So, all right, cool.
And then 6 months later, when Cody comes back, are they going to have that same heat? Like, who cares?
But now, listen. So this conversation now has to actually tie in with Monday Night Raw, because
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
we had this fucking. I don't understand what we're doing here. Like, so now because of the injury, not only do we have to bring John Cena back, by the way, but now we got to take Edge, who we just turned heel, who just started a faction, who has been on a fucking roll.
Amazing.
We're now going to flip him back to being face because now Cody's going to be off TV for 6 months. So now you have Finn Balor and you do the double turn.
But how
I
bad?
don't.
How
The
badly?
only reason why I could see them doing this soon is because they need another top face, and I guess they're counting on Edge. But so now what? Does Edge start his own fucking something? I don't know.
But doesn't that make, like, if you're Finn Balor, the guy behind the character, Fergal Devitt, whatever, and they go, "Hey, you and AJ Styles and Liv Morgan are feuding against this bad guy faction, and now you're this big babyface faction. But now we need a bigger babyface. So you're gonna be the bad guy now. We don't have it. They've never. I don't even know why they hired this fucking Prince Devitt, fucking Finn Balor guy. They've never shown any faith in him to carry anything aside from the NXT title. They don't feel like he can be a headliner. They don't feel like he could be a main eventer. They don't feel like he can carry a brand. When the opportunity comes like this to take somebody from the lower card and make them a main eventer, it's never Finn. Like, he held the world title for one day because he was injured, and then after that, I feel like they just felt like he got that injury prone label, even though Seth Rollins was the one that injured him and injured Sting and injured John Cena and injured all these fucking guys.
And the
he's
irony
still
that of all
wrestling.
people, Cody Rhodes is wrestling Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to chime in real quick, and I'm probably gonna disagree with you a little bit, Vince. I think for Finn, this is probably a good chance to be a guy like a main eventer. He's in a faction that's killing it with Rhea Ripley and Damian. I said it before on the chat. I got some heat for it. I like this more than the House of Black, and I just think that this is definitely going to be a good thing for Finn. Him as a heel turn, you get to see a different side of Finn, and see if he can work this and make this work for him.
It would have been better
So
if Edge was still a part of it and they
Oh, no,
brought
100%.
Finn in.
Edge is you know how George Lucas said Jar Jar Binks was the most important. He was the biggest. He was the centerpiece of the fucking prequels. Edge was the centerpiece of this group. The Judgment Day. The whole thing was predicated on the old Judgment Day poster that Edge was on. You know what I mean? Like, the whole group was named Metal. Like, they had he got rid of Metalingus so that Alter Bridge could make another song.
Yeah.
You think you know me? You never did. All this stuff. Like, the group, and it was based on the history that Edge had as part of the Brood, as part of the Ministry, as part of all this. You know what I mean? Like,
And you finally gave us AJ and Finn together. Like,
you got the club back together after all.
we get like a little taste of it every now and then I don't know.
Yeah, man. It's very, very strange that
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I don't know what's to come, but I just feel like I agree, Steve. If Finn was in the group with them for a while, like with the complete group, including Edge,
And then this happened.
And also, if they were going to
Yeah.
kick out Edge, why do it right away? What work for it?
Yeah, you just won.
And why would it be the guy that you just beat the night before?
Well, the only logical explanation is they need a top face because listen, Cody Rhodes has been the face of the show. The guy's had a fucking countdown for the next time you're going to see him. Like,
and then they did they did that for Judgment Day last night.
Right.
Yeah. I will agree with you though, Eddie, that I enjoyed Judgment Day over House of Black also, though. I will.
There we go. I'm not alone in this world.
The exact
Whip up, baby.
The exact quote was just what is the other group called? House of Black. House of Black is caca.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said it before. And Amanda hated me a little bit for it. She said I was on shrooms and or something, on some type of drug. And speaking of someone on shrooms, What is wrong with Riddle challenging our tribal chief? Really? Really?
Well,
I
What
was
is
good
wrong
you
with
for
this
about 30
dude?
seconds, Eddie. Now I'm gonna shut up because nope.
Roman hasn't defended the title in like 85 days. Like
As
needs
he
it- somebody-
should. Let him relax in the island of relevancy. The guy
got that Brock
needs to
Lesnar
chill.
schedule, man.
He has smashed them all. And
You
out of
remember-
nowhere, hey there, Randy. This guy decides out of nowhere to sit there and fucking scoot on his scooter and challenge our tribal chief?
Yeah, but
Bro,
you remember all those
bro.
times that Roman Reigns said that Brock Lesnar was a part-time champion who didn't defend his title and was never there, and that if he won the title, he was going to be a defending champion and a fighting.
Compare
champ. Like,
Roman Reigns' record to Brock Lesnar. End the story. Lesnar, come on. He smashed everyone.
where has he been? The
I
guy-
think
he's
I
been
think
on-
what
he's been on
they're
some island. He's been on island time. Why?
I think what they're gonna do, they're gonna do a little thing with Riddle and Roman, and that's gonna bite time for Randy to heal up, and then Randy's gonna come back, and then they're gonna do something with Randy and Reigns.
This
I
is
mean,
the
listen,
storyline this was
they
the
gotta keep it
Bianca
going.
and Sasha storyline that they pitched to them. You're going to be tag team champions. You're going to lose the titles, and then you're both going to challenge for the world title and lose. Like that was
Yeah.
the same. That was the
You're
same
right.
story they gave to them. They just gave it to the guys.
It's true.
yeah, that's true.
But
Listen. Not even Randy is gonna sit there
no, he's not going
and
to win either.
beat our tribal chief. This dude skipping his scooter, he's not gonna beat our tribal chief. Okay, there's really no one on the show. They have, like I said, you have Cody, because I can say it like that. Cody is not gonna beat our tribal chief. That's it. There's really no one.
listen,
How about
I will
Rikishi,
say
the
this:
tribal cheeks?
if he has a miraculous recovery and he does make it back in time for Money in the Bank, rest assured,
He's
that
sharing
he is
fucking
going-
shrooms with fucking Riddle.
rest assured he's gonna win that match and he's going to cash in. And it is the only prayer anybody has of taking the tribal chief down.
He's
is
kicking
with
out
a
at
cash
one.
in. And I
Yeah.
said it a long time ago. The only way it would be believable is with a cash in with Cody.
Okay, but Armando, hay una pregunta. Okay?
Pregunta, what?
Because I know you
Dale.
I know you were all about the tribal chief and everything and all that, and that's all good. So my question to you is whoever, because I know you know exactly how many days he's champion right now, but whoever is going to take him down, whether it's next week, next month, next year, 2 years down the line, who do you think will ever be that person to take down your tribal chief?
They're probably gonna need Thanos. I honestly, to be honest with you, I legit, in my heart of hearts, cannot find. There's probably no one out there
Even
that
with
can
the
think.
X
The
over his
Rock,
icon,
Busy
please.
Man, Hollywood. I mean, he's not gonna do it. Cena tried, not gonna do it.
So
I mean,
Thanos and his Infinity Stones. Okay.
I-
Gracias, Pietro.
Yes, you're right. Thanos has to collect all 6 Infinity Stones, and then he could snap his little fingers and have a little prayer that Roman Reigns fades to the dust and fades to black. It's the only way Roman loses the title.
I think I know who's going to do it. Bad Bunny.
Oh.
As much of a Benito fan I am,
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are you gonna do then?
Could you imagine?
Benito's gonna
Listen,
get Superman
this guy's
punched
now
all the way back
he's
to
a-
his next concert.
is he a
You don't
Marvel
think there's
superhero or DC
anybody-
superhero?
There's nobody in
But-
NXT, Eddie, that you're thinking that
Ah,
could show up and possibly
mean,
dethrone
they're
the
not
tribal
okay.
chief?
Maybe Braun Breaker, I guess or call, if you change his name to Rex Steiner. There we go.
Give me a fucking mic.
If they do it right and they drop the fucking name Breaker, you call him Rex Steiner, and you build him the right way into the show, the main roster, and then, and only then, will I can see that happening and have him being the champ. Only person.
Okay, but what happens then if it becomes one day that it's Roman versus your hermano Damien?
Damian Priest.
again, if it's built up the right way, if it's doing again,
I don't think Damian Priest wins that match.
he's not. Yeah, I mean,
No,
no. Let's put Damien. You know
same
what?
as Bad
Damien
Bunny.
winning the Money in the
What?
Bank. Now that sounds cool.
I'm just trying to make him squirm a little bit.
She's
here.
trying to make me swerve a little, but I still don't see it.
But here's the thing.
We'll
If-
see.
if-
We'll see.
if-
We'll have to see. But it's
Jake Paul.
definitely not going to be Riddle. It's not going to be
Wait,
that.
I know who's taking him out one day. Your boy Easy's doing it.
Oh, yeah, a little Mayan talk. All right. Where my Mayans fans at? Anyone? No.
I thought you were saying Ezekiel because that would be funny.
No,
that'd
it's
be
the other
funny as all
Ezekiel.
hell.
He wins. He wins.
Don't
He goes,
you
"I
mean
dedicate this to my
Elias?
brother."
Yeah, it's Elias. All right.
Okay, so let's
Not
go to-
fooling
go to that
anybody.
match. Let's
A
go to that
haircut and a
match.
beard shave. Come on.
So Kevin Owens wins that match after stunner like he should because it's a stunner. But he still didn't necessarily find out if Ezekiel and Elias were two different people. Like you know what? Like how does that get resolved?
Well, did you watch Raw?
I forgot what happened.
So they had a segment where Elias called out Owens, and they had a conversation about having another match. But that match would only happen if Ezekiel admitted that he was Elias. So he made him verbally say the words, and he says it. They make the match, and he goes, "You know, I took a page out of your book. I can't believe it was that easy. I was able to lie and get what I want because I'm Ezekiel, not Elias," or whatever. And so they're continuing this whole thing, which I think is hilarious, quite honestly. I just don't know how this is going to, like, I feel like somebody has to come out that looks so fucking close, spot on to Elias. You know what I mean?
Do you remember the last time something like this happened to me that I can remember was in the late stages of WCW when Ms. Hancock was pregnant and they had to determine who was the father, and they had a match, and the loser it was like a first blood match to submit a DNA. Somehow they were able to do a DNA test because usually you just do a swab in your mouth, but they did, like, Ric Flair gigged. Wasn't it a mud match too? Like Ric Flair's bleeding, and they like rubbed the blood in an envelope. They're like, "Oh, off to the lab."
Wasn't it like Sean Stacey after something?
Yep.
Yeah. So I feel like to me, I feel like there's going to be some sort of like first blood match, and then Ezekiel's bleeding, and then Kevin Owens gets a guy, like a scientist man in a lab coat out there to like do a DNA test or something. Like,
Well,
how could it not end in the silliest way possible?
That's cool, but I wouldn't be opposed to Owens going like ultra psychotic because of it, like more and more crazier than ever, you know, and then kind of change up his character a little bit.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that idea.
This whole thing is to slowly drive Kevin Owens insane. Like that's
Right. That
Well, it's
kind of
working.
reminds me of Eddie and Chavo in WCW.
you had Pepe.
When Chavo was annoying Eddie so much that Eddie was going nuts because Chavo was nuts.
This was my favorite. Eddie and Chavo were the best, and this was
Yes.
genius. There was I think it was a Bash at the Beach. Chavo had a television championship match against Stevie Ray, for Stevie Ray's TV title. The bell rings. They shake hands. As soon as Stevie Ray grabs Chavo's hand, he goes, "Ow!" and taps out because Chavo had to wrestle Eddie in the match right after that. So they sold it on commentary as he saved his energy. He tapped out to the handshake so that he kind of fooled Eddie so he could reserve his energy. Eddie thought he was going to be all tired from wrestling a big guy like
Also,
Stevie Ray.
rest in peace, Pepe, who went into the wood chipper.
Yes, Pepe went into the wood chipper with joining Moppy and Pepper in the great
Oh my God,
ballet
Moppy.
Stable in the Sky.
No, Pepe
Well-
was in the food that Al Snow ate.
Oh boy, is it that time already?
We're getting close. So
Mamma mia.
I just real quick, I want to. So we touched on it briefly, but I don't know if this was happening before them finding out that Cody was going to be on the shelf or not. But nonetheless, 20 years of John Cena. He is coming back. We don't really know what that means. He's coming back on that day.
It
but
means he's going to be putting over Theory in a U.S. title match.
Well,
Oh,
yeah, I was going to
that
say,
could
I
be it.
definitely think they're going to do something with Theory,
I'll tell you
because
what,
that's
though, when Cena comes back and cuts his promo before getting interrupted, likely by Theory, I'd like him to say something like, or no, it'd have to be when Theory comes out and the challenge is laid out and shit like that. I want Cena to say something like, that title hasn't been relevant since I had it. Because it's true.
He probably will. Like, that's, I can almost guarantee, like, drinking game style. Like, yes, John Cena's definitely going to say that. And then take a sip. But
Tara, I'm sorry. I wasn't laughing at you, Eric. I was laughing at Tara because all of a sudden all I see is who's Pepe.
who's Pepe? Quickest explanation was that it was a wooden hobby horse on a steak that Chavo used to carry around back when he was pretending. He was pretending to be crazy.
That's why when he joined the Misfits in Action, he became Lieutenant Loco.
Right, because he was he was faking crazy to bug Eddie Guerrero, but then he actually
Which
became
made Eddie
Lieutenant
crazy.
Loco.
Oh, good God.
I was hoping it was that picture of Johnny Depp with both the belts.
Oh, that was a great picture.
Oh, I know. Oh, champion. Yes, I see he's got the title. However many days. 600 and something too many.
Told you he would get that easy and figuring that out.
He's had it for 525,600 minutes.
At least.
You just rented that. That was good.
All right.
Yeah.
We are about the top of the hour.
My goodness.
Don't you dare.
Here, this is what you were talking about. There you go.
Yeah, there he is.
It's my wallpaper now.
Fantastic. Freaking guy.
The first and only time a man has won an argument against a woman.
And it had to be in a court of law, and he needed to pay millions of dollars for attorneys. That's the lesson, fellas. You can't win.
I'll tell you really funny. I told Justin yesterday morning before he'd go out to work to make sure he didn't take out the garbage. So when I said, you didn't take out the garbage. He goes, were you there? I'm like, done.
What, if any, effect did him taking the garbage out have? You remember Elaine?
Have you seen him all night? That's what happened.
Elaine Bresloff. What, if
I'll tell
any?
you what, before the show, I took a massive amber.
Oh, you took an amber turd? Oh, no. So,
and on that note,
yeah, that's it. Yeah, we should go. But thank you for tuning in. We've got all kinds of social media for you to follow at Tag Me A Date. That's all one word. Tag Me A Date, no spaces. Look for us on Facebook and Twitter and Periscope and Instagram. We're even on TikTok. We're on twitch.tv/War Report. We're on YouTube, also at Tag Me A Date. So if you go to YouTube, you should hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to get notified when we go live. We go live on multiple platforms, 6 p.m. Eastern time on every Tuesday evening. So once a week for you. We live stream on Facebook. We live stream on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter and Periscope. So we're all over with these live streams. Just figure out which one you prefer to watch on, and you can watch our show. If you go to the YouTube or the Twitch or even the Facebook, I assume you can go back and go to the archive of all of our prior shows. And again, that's at Tag Me A Date or twitch.tv/War Report. And that's also one word, War Report. If you want to listen rather than watch the streams, you can listen to a audio-only version of this podcast via your favorite podcast app. You can go to Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play Podcast, or Apple Podcasts. Type in the War Report, type in Tag Me A Date. You will find the podcast. You can subscribe, and the audio will go right to your app and will be downloaded usually within the hour of us going off the air. So we go off air at 7 Eastern time, and between 7 and 8 is usually when that audio version goes up. Just so you know, when you're looking for podcast apps, there are 2 War Report podcasts. You should just look at the graphic and the description to make sure the one that you're subscribing to says tag me a date on it and mentions, some of the cast of characters that we have here. So hit subscribe. We'd love to have you. Tell your friends if you're enjoying our podcast and you have some friends that are wrestling fans, spread the word. The more the merrier. They can join Tara in our chat. Tara, who I learned a few weeks ago, has started using the phrase, "Don't put that voodoo on me, Ricky Bobby," even more because I use it all the time during the podcast. So thank you, Tara, for tuning in and taking one of our phrases from the show and using it in your real life. It's applicable to a lot of things. You can do a lot of things with "Don't put that voodoo on me, Ricky Bobby." But tell your friends. You can all hop in the chat and chat with us, and we'll put comments. It doesn't matter where you are, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, whatever. Those comments come up in our sidebar, and we're able to put them up on the screen. So if you have something you want to say during the show or a question you want to ask, please drop in. And again, tell your
Acknowledge
friends,
us.
join us. Yes, exactly. Acknowledge the War Report, and that's it. I think that's it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back Tuesday, 6 p.m. on Eastern Time for another edition of the War Report. Have a nice week, everybody.